name is Ludy and Bud Holliga is my son. Whether he likes it or not, and for that matter, there's not a whole lot I can do about it either. But he has asked me to run a tape on basically a job description of the type of work I do. So I can introduce myself at the moment as your friendly little research director. Now, way back when, I told all my kids I'd never do their homework for them. On the other hand, I said that if they requested my help, if I could do them any good, I'd be glad to. But to help them with their homework, and you get down to something like this, it's a little bit short of ridiculous. In the first place, to prepare a tape that is ready for, you might say, somebody's edit, takes a little time, and I don't intend to spend a whole lot of time on this because when you worked all day at your job, in most cases you don't really want to talk about it after working hours. On top of that, the outline that Bud gave me is about 10 major headings to it, and if I tried to talk about every one of those items that he's got listed there, it would probably take me about 4 tapes. But I'll do the best I can while I have some time here. Now, research itself, if you wanted to know how old that particular type of occupation might be, it probably started way back when the world began, and Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden were trying to research between themselves what the difference was between an apple and a snake. Now, whatever they found out as an answer, I won't go into detail to tell you because you can do your own research and check it out in the Bible and find out what the score was after they did their part of it. Now, this occupation, in terms of research, and particularly in development, is very important to the evolution of technology in terms of progress for not only people, but for industries, communities, for just the whole world in general. You can't very well break it down into branches or departments or types of work because research you can find in forestry, you can find it in oceanography, in astrology, and many things, but I'm primarily concerned with in my particular area in industry. Now, as far as being a research director, most of my time is practically spent in planning, in organizing and programming particular phases of research, going from the development of ideas into concept engineering and on into project development and finally out into the world with it either as a product or as a new theory or as an application or what have you. If you wonder whether this type of research is primarily for boys or for girls, well, the answer it can be for both. Anybody with a head on their shoulders and the patience, the curiosities to really do this type of work would naturally qualify. But by and large, you'll find boys are preparing themselves more and more towards research than girls. However, you'll find girls a lot more in abundance in certain areas of laboratory work where they're helping a physicist or a scientist or something like that, doing some of the menial tasks that require good academic backgrounds, a lot of detail work, and again, overall patience. In associating with other research people, though, I find out that in most cases they didn't really begin their careers in research. They came up, you might say, up through the ranks, as was the case in mine. I came up out of the tool and machine design, up through die design, and on into machine particulars for special applications. And little by little I entered into the field of research. I think in many cases you might enter this particular field when you set your sights in terms of personal achievement, salary levels, and other particular wants, your personal needs, might have to be satisfied by many other things, so that you may have an interest for this type of work on top of that and wind up being in research almost accidentally. Now, there's no doubt about it, the salary is probably higher because of the demand of such qualified people in today's requirements. So then it does become attractive even if that would be the only reason. However, you would find that the hours are particularly long. There's quite a bit of 7-day week business. You get wrapped up in a particular project and you don't want to let it go, so that you kind of put a physical demand as well as a mental strain on yourself, and you find out that conditions of work are pretty demanding, and sometimes you have to make some family sacrifices away from home and what have you. If you were to ask how long it would take to become a research director or a research manager, one of the latest studies that I have seen in terms of time shows that after you've done a lot of preliminary preparations, academic studies, and incidentally you continue to study throughout your career to keep up with technology. But at any rate, you could consider that as soon as you enter the research department, even as a technician, you would have to allow yourself almost 12 years before you could get to the top. Now, this could be accelerated by being in a new department that is just being organized, or being an understudy to a rather older man who is up for retirement, so that you could step in easier than working up and sweating out some time. But usually it takes between 7 to 12 years before you can really reach the top in terms of research. As far as preparations in school, I'd have to say that you need a real strong academic background, especially in mathematics and some of the sciences. This is probably your best bet. But you would find out that as the years go by, you would have to enter quite a few seminars, do a lot of extracurricular studies to stay up with what has been determined over the years in terms of newness. As far as physical qualities, and I'm just running down through this outline as fast as I can and watching the end of the tape because I'm getting there pretty quickly. In terms of physical qualities, or mental qualities for that matter, it's just the idea that you have lasting power, and as long as you've got an interest in your work, this is an area you wouldn't have to concern yourself with. There's a great demand for research people because of the tremendous progress being made by the various countries all over the world. So I'd have to say that it's a wide open field. Anyone interested in it, of course, would have to prepare themselves early in their life. And I think it would be well a thought on every student's part to see whether this is something that they would like. Education and a high esteem to your colleagues in this particular type of work, it's almost as if it's a special. I can see that I'm approaching the end of my